So I decided to craft a golden Undatakah card. This was a huge investment in dust for me, huge moment.
I don't make mistakes, I bury them!
And so I decided, okay, if I've got a golden Undatakah, then I need to find a deck that can make use of it. So I did some research, and on Twitter I came across this deck right here. A deck created by a friend of mine on Twitter called Beardyman, and this Resmimon deck, I am not going to pronounce that in a troll voice because I'd make an absolute mess of it, I think. But this is a tremendously fun deck to play. On initial impressions, it looks like sort of a classic res Shaman with Ancestral Spirit and Reincarnate, but with some interesting inclusions. The original version of the deck had Big Bad Voodoo, just to get some more presence on the board, I guess. This was replaced by Eureka. And the original version also had Sludge Belcher, and this was replaced by Rotten Applebalm. And the Applebalm is really good against aggressive decks like Even Shaman. There are a lot of Even Shamans on the Wild Ladder, and Applebalm just helps with healing, and Even Shaman can get your health total down very, very quickly. If you can play Ancestral Spirit on an Applebalm, then you're going to last a little bit longer, and hopefully that gives you time to get your big threats down onto the board. Speaking of big threats, there are lots of them in the deck. This deck runs Kel'Thuzad, which is one of my favourite cards in all of Hearthstone, so any excuse to play KT and I'm all over it. You've got Ragnaros, the Lich King, you have Sylvanas, which is really good against Big Priest, but you've got to be lucky enough to draw her. You have White Eyes, which to me is a highly underrated card. I love White Eyes, I really do. Playing him with Ancestral Spirit and you get the Storm Guardian into your deck, it's just super value. Enzoth the Corruptor to bring back those Death Rattle minions, and of course the Undatakah. And I refuse to pronounce it in any other way. To me, this card will always be the Undatakah, just because of the wrestling reference. If you read the flavor text on this card, Blizzard very cleverly make reference to a pro wrestling event from June of 1998, and it was quite a historic event, and they actually reference the wrestling match between the Undatakah, the pro wrestler, and Mankind, which I actually watched back in 1998, and it was a big moment for me as a wrestling fan, and therefore much respect to Blizzard for making reference to that event, 20 years ago now, in the flavor text for this card. So yeah, super fun deck to play. The only thing I'd say is, against aggro decks, you have to draw your healing rains, you have to draw your Applebalms. If you don't, you'll probably lose. You have to have a bit of luck with this deck. Right, let's have a look at it in action on the Wild Mode ladder.
You stand before King Rastatan.
So, going up against a Hunter. Now, Beardyman, who is the author of this deck, had provided a little bit of guidance on Twitter in terms of how to mulligan in this deck, things you should keep depending on the matchups that you are facing. And he says that against Spell Hunter, this is probably some kind of Spell Hunter, right, or Secrets Hunter, that Volcano is a really good card to try and keep in the mulligan, just because of the Spellstone, and you want to get rid of those wolves that get played. Against Shamans, Hex is a really good keep because of the 4-mana 7/7s, Devolve, and Lightning Storm is also apparently quite good. And against Big Priest, you hard mulligan for Barnes and Reincarnate, and you look for Hex as well. The Big Priest matchup is quite a tough one, I think, because quite possibly they can cheat out big minions perhaps quicker than you. They have, I mean, we both have Barnes, right? But you also have to have Ancestral Spirit or Reincarnate in your hand to make it worthwhile. And here's the problem.
Things happen.
Barnes can pull a bad minion from the deck that doesn't have an immediate impact. White Eyes would have an immediate impact if you can then res him. Ragnaros would have an immediate impact. Sylvanas would have an immediate impact. The Undertaker there did not have an immediate impact. So there's a bit of a problem there. And Big Priest also has more resurrection effects. They have the Spell Stone, which is just huge value. This deck feels like an honest version of Big Priest. Doesn't feel too overpowered, but it still feels powerful at the same time. So Sylvanas on board is just going to make life awkward for him. Now you saw him hover over Sylvanas. He almost wanted to make the trade, and then he was like, nah, I'm going face. So now we're going to steal some stuff. And this is a wonderful, wonderful play, by the way. Okay, we get the cat trick. We use the Lightning Storm there, just to get a bit of a clear on the board. Now we kill off our Sylvanas. She steals something, comes back to life, and this board right here, incredibly threatening. Not only are we threatening huge amounts of damage, but we're threatening to steal anything big that he plays, minion-wise. Now his deck is a spell-heavy deck. He's not going to have many minions. But what he will start doing is generating zombie beasts now, which we can steal. Especially large zombie beasts. Now, he attacked in, so I'm going to be proactive here. I'm going to heal up Sylvanas. Now, pushing 10 to the face, that's a big deal. And we have Kel'Thuzad, which we could play soon. So the value here is insane. Okay, that's unfortunate. We lose one Sylvanas. And I'm not going to attack here, because I'm assuming that one of those traps is Freezing Trap. The trouble with not attacking is, when do I attack then? If I'm not attacking last turn, when I can't attack with Rag, I can't attack with the Totem, so I have to attack with Sylvanas. When do I eventually make that attack? But yeah, he thought there was no chance of him winning this game. That feels amazing. Okay, this next little game, I'm not entirely sure here on the mulligan, so I'm just going to discard everything. We're going up against a rogue, and it's a rank 3 rogue. Therefore, my assumption is going to be that it will be Kingsbane. Yep, it looks like Kingsbane Rogue. It's either Kingsbane, it's certainly not Odd Rogue, so it's either Kingsbane Rogue or some kind of Pirate Rogue. He didn't play a pirate, therefore it has to be Kingsbane. I really hate playing against Kingsbane Rogue. I've only tried to play as a Kingsbane Rogue a couple of times and I never have any luck. But every time I play against a Kingsbane Rogue, they have all the luck. They draw Kingsbane very quickly, they draw weapon buffs very quickly, and then they draw Leeching Poison very quickly, and you just can't do enough damage to kill them. Priority for me here is to A, use cards from my hand, and B, try to make sure he doesn't have any opportunities to put those Colite Oracles back into his deck.
Mistakes were made.
And he's played the Tinker's Oil there. on a weapon that's not Kingsbane. That's really interesting to me. You say mistakes are made. Is this some kind of BM? Is he trying to BM me? I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe it's sort of next level psychology. Wow, he's really not happy with me. Apparently, I've done something so heinous and so disrespectful that he needs to threaten me like that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, hits my face. Okay. There's the Kingsbane. And oh look, leeching poison. That card needs to be nerfed, honestly. Either nerf Kingsbane or nerf leeching poison. And I'm just gonna play stuff from my hand. Possessed Villager, that's not a Death Rattle minion that we want to see. Looking forward to next turn, we have some options available to us. And here he goes with the weapon buffs now. See, if I was him, I'd just go face here, right? So you really want to kill that 1-3? What's that 1-3 doing to you? It's doing nothing. In fact, that 1-3 is detrimental to me. Injures my own minions. But there's Ragnaros. 8 to the face. But against Kingsbane Rogue, any damage that I do is irrelevant because he'll just keep buffing the weapon and he'll just keep healing. And then he'll Blade Flurry, and then he'll Doomerang, and yeah. Kingsbane Rogue really does excel against slow decks. But maybe we can race him here. Because we've got Ancestral Spirit. That may help us. Sap on the Rag is unfortunate. And with Ancestral Spirit, I mean, it's good at maintaining ball presence, obviously, because his weapon is going to keep hitting into our minions. It's good at maintaining ball presence. But we've got to be wary of Sap and Vanish. Now, the Apple Balm perhaps isn't the best target for Ancestral Spirit, if you look at my hand. But I value the healing against Kingsbane, and it just allowed me to play as many cards as I could on that turn. See, there's the Vanish. We get the healing, and we get the Apple Balm back. Pretty good. So we actually got value on Ancestral Spirit. Because my hand was so full. I think he was hoping that he'd send the Apple Balm back to my hand, thus negating the value.
A tale of terrible tragedy. Soldiers of the cold.
And there he is. One of my favourite cards, if not my favourite card in all of Hearthstone. There's KT. We finally get positive Barnes value. We resurrect the KT, or reincarnate him. I'm just going to play another card to keep my hand as empty as possible. And we have 2 KTs. This is great. We've seen one Vanish. The question is, does he have another Vanish in his hand? If he does, I'm going to be sad. We have this discounted Undatakah in our hand.
So many options.
So that could prove to be a little bit of a surprise later in the game. He's going to keep drawing cards here. He's going to try and mill me. He's probably looking for the second Vanish, and he'll want to combo it with preps, but even if he does that, I've still got a steady stream of threats that are sitting in my hand. I have healing as well. So maybe we can just outlast him. The weapon hasn't been buffed up to a significant level here. And he's killed a minion. Saps 1 KT. But of course, the second KT just brings the apple barn back to life. He can't cope with Kel'Thuzad on the board. This is really good. 2 KTs are back. Oh, he wouldn't let me play Ragnaros. Well, that was a really sweet win against Kingsbane Rogue. And that's what took me to rank 3. Now, sometimes you just get outvalued by your opponent. My opponent stole my Kel'Thuzad. This is why Draconoid Operative is so OP. It steals cards that can just win games. Now in this instance, he didn't need KT. He was just going to win anyway. Oh look, he stole my KT. He actually stole my KT as well. I don't know, I'm actually speechless. I'm actually speechless. It's just terrible luck on my part. But anyway, he doesn't need KT to win. His hero power and his board presence was just enough. This is a Reno Dragon Priest, by the way, that I was facing. And we were 20 minutes into this game at this point. We were just going back and forth, back and forth. I'd play threats, he'd remove them. I'd play threats, he'd entomb them. Entomb, oh, he had entomb quite early as well. And that really, really annoyed me. Because they just entomb a minion that you've played Ancestral Spirit on. So frustrating. And he got a really good presence early with dragons as well. He got good tempo. Which for a Reno deck is quite lucky to have. Because you're playing one-ofs of every card. And so it's harder to draw cards in the right order that you want them in. Sometimes you can just be stuck with an opening hand full of expensive stuff. But he got lucky. It turns out that Priest in general is not is not good for me when I play this deck. Whether it's Big Priest, whether it's Reno Priest, or actually just normal Dragon Priest in itself, doesn't work well for me with this deck. I tend to lose. Whereas when I face even Shamans, or Kingsbane Rogues, or Secret Hunters, I tend to win. So that feels sad. We got sent back to rank 4. But anyway, the key thing about this deck is it's so fun to play. And a big thank you to Beardyman for giving me this deck list and for discussing the refinements with me on Twitter. Really appreciate his time, and I really appreciate playing this deck. As I said earlier, it's what I think Big Priest should feel like. In other words, it feels solid but not disgustingly overpowered. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like and maybe a little comment on what you think about this deck. Giving me a little subscribe would also be very much appreciated. And if you have any comments about the cards in this deck, if you feel that there are other cards that should be included. Now that we've taken out Big Bad Voodoo, really I think the Undatakah is the only Rusticon card that's left in this deck. If you feel there's anything else from the new expansion that would benefit from being in this deck, you know, leave a little comment below, and I'm sure that Beardyman will have a read of the comments and will probably respond as well. So, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys all again very soon for more Wild Mode fun.